Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, David Collins.
How you doing? Star Wars Celebration 2016 here in London. Welcome. You excited for a great weekend or what? Boy, we have so much to show you all weekend long. So many incredible panels. We have a Rogue One panel later on today. Anybody excited about that? So many different places you can see it. You can see it, of course, here on the Galaxy stage, at the Celebration stage. It's going to be live streaming. So much great stuff coming up. We've got an ILM archaeology panel with the ILM greats, John Knoll, Doug Chang. All those folks are going to be here later. That's going to be incredible. But right now, we have something really, really special we're going to show you. Yet again at Star Wars Celebration right here. Some things you've never seen before. How many droid builders are out here? Any droid builders? Oh, there you go. Oh, there you are. You're going to see some incredible, incredible shots, some incredible footage today, and you're going to meet some very, very talented people. I don't actually want to waste any more time. We've got some slides to tell you who they are. Please welcome Josh, Matt, Oliver, and Lee, the droid builders from Star Wars The Force Awakens. Come on up, you guys. Welcome to Star Wars Celebration.
Thank you.
Certainly not your first. Everyone remembers that last Star Wars Celebration where BB-8 came out on the stage.
Oh yeah, that was quite a moment.
Quite a moment. So the work that you had to do going into The Force Awakens. Oh, there you are. Look at all those R2s. R2KT, R2D2, and more. You got to be proud of that shot.
Yeah, it's really good. It seems like it's a lifetime ago now that sort of finished on The Force Awakens and then met sort of Kathleen at Essen that led me and Lee to be here.
Everyone knows that story about Lee and Oliver and Star Wars Celebration in Germany in 2013. You all heard this story? Yeah, a quick recap. That Kathleen Kennedy saw the droids, and basically you were hired to work on the show.
Yep, basically. I sort of had a quick chat with Kathleen Kennedy backstage, make a cheeky comment about making droids, and then, yeah, I was hired, and then got Lee in to work on Force Awakens building R2s.
Absolutely. Well, those look incredible. And so you were building a lot of different droids, though.
Yeah, we didn't do R2 straight away. We built various droids. First of all, just smaller droids. So we did this, which is classed as a toolbox droid. This was something I built. It is moving around in the background. I think it's at Rebel Base, which is quite a bit of fun, something Neil gave us to build. I did the mouse droids as well. I did them, so you'll see them whizzing around. And then Oliver did the upgrade to the mouse droid, which is what we've got here.
Yep, so this is the Imperial Sentry droid, which was basically the evolution of a mouse droid 30 years on from Star Wars. And let's put the mic down.
Yeah, so this is the Imperial Sentry droid here. Where did we see this in the movie?
Yes, it is. It's on the Imperial base.
Right.
When Poe steals the TIE fighter.
Right.
And various other scenes, you'll see these flying about. People may have missed them, but watch it again, and there's plenty of them about.
The First Order Star Destroyer out in the background.
Yeah,
that's really
right.
cool. So this is like Mouse Droid 5.0, basically, this guy right here.
Indeed, yeah.
And is it pretty much the same principles in terms of its movement? Oh, no, actually, it seems to have a lot more. Oh, yes. So,
Yeah, this is classed as an Omni droid, so it goes in any direction. So wherever Oliver points the joystick, it shoots off in that direction and rotates in the spot as well. So it's quite fun to drive, but you don't always know which way's forward.
Do you ever have ever crash into Captain Phasma on the set of The Force Awakens, or any First Order mishaps? No, perhaps?
Not really. There's always sort of mishaps. No.
Oh, that's a good answer.
Changing the subject to one of the next images that has come up. Oh. Something else we worked on was the domes for the back of the X-Wings as well. So JJ, we used some designs that are already canon, but we also added a new design, the R0 dome, which is the black and white one you see there with the top hat popped up. And JJ liked it so much, we built a couple of them. And the black and orange one appears in Poe's X-Wing, just before BB8 gets in. So that was something else that was quite nice to build.
Very, very cool. And there's R2.
So in total, we built 4 R2s for Force Awakens. We had an inside one with for flat surfaces, an outside one with sort of 2-inch ground clearance for sort of sand. It was absolutely perfect. A sort of Kenny 2-legged droid that Josh did the pneumatics for that sort of wobbled. And then another droid that had all panels that opened, so we didn't only used in one shot.
You'll see from the opening photo of Oliver with all the droids and myself as well as this photo here, we did use other droids as well. The pink one, R2D2, which was made in America by a group of fans, which is quite an interesting story. But people Google, if you don't know the R2D2 story, Google it. It's quite a heartwarming story.
Yeah.
So that flew over from the US, which we used. And the other droids as well, we did use fan-built droids. So we got fans in on different days when we needed them, and they helped us out as well, which was really nice.
So a lot of these were, that's a great question. So a lot of these were pre-built. You didn't have to start from scratch on every single.
That's right. The
That's
R2s we built, all the R2s.
Right.
But if we wanted something different, we do try and get the other R2 builders involved if we can.
Great. Yeah, there he is.
This is Henrik. Henrik worked for the Creatures Department, and he painted most of the characters that you see in The Force Awakens that came through the Creatures Workshop. And this is him weathering R2. Just it doesn't look right pristine on camera, so he's just dirtying them up to make them look a bit more authentic and older on screen.
Is that a pretty long process, or does that happen pretty quickly in terms of the overall paint and look and the back and forth with the director and how much to weather him versus? I mean, it is a sequel, so many years later.
Yeah, it's sometimes we're asked to make it more weathered, other times not, and just before cameras were rolling, it was too dirty, so we were there with spirits trying to clean it down quickly to just tidy him up a little bit. But yeah, what we've done, he was quite happy with from day one, really. And
how many R2s total were there? We see 3 here in this shot. How many were there total?
There's 4 altogether.
4 total.
Yeah, we did a 4th one which had doors opening and so on, which isn't seen in this shot. But and that wasn't used. But these are the 3 that were mainly used.
Very cool. Now, R2D2 obviously has been around in a lot of movies, including The Phantom Menace. Now, you actually worked on The Phantom Menace with R2. Isn't that right?
Yeah, so, quite a few years ago now, I was on Phantom Menace, and R2D2 was a bit of a hot potato. Who was going to build it, actually? Because it's notoriously difficult to get it to work on set, to get it to work on sand, and get through doorways. That's always really difficult. You don't want to be the guy who bumps into the doorway mid-shot. So it was a bit of a hot potato, and special effects had a go. I think props had a go. And in the end, ILM made a really good R2D2. So I was working on that film, but I was keeping an eye on how R2 was built.
So you're working with Don Bees.
With there were some reshoots in the UK, and Don Bees came over for those. I was his assistant. That was great. So I got to dress Anthony Daniels as C-3PO. I had a little play on R2D2, and most importantly, I got to look inside because I was really intrigued to see how Don had done it. Because this was the R2 that was the holy grail of R2s.
So certainly that knowledge served you very well coming into The Force Awakens because you had a new challenge presented to you pretty early on.
Yeah, originally. So Neil Scanlon, who's the kind of crazed genius head of creature effects, it was all very secret. It wasn't really clear that he'd got the film, but he rang me up and said, Josh, I think I've got Star Wars. Could you come and can you think about how you would do R2D2? And so I was bit apprehensive, and it's going to be tricky and everything. But and then, by the time the film actually started, pre-production, on my first day, he said, "Oh, I'm really sorry, Josh. I hope you're not disappointed, but you're not going to be doing R2D2 because these guys."
Sorry, Josh.
had been brought in by that point, and I was like, "Who are they?" So, but what he did say was, he said, "But there is this new droid for The Force Awakens," and showed me a little sketch that JJ had done on the back of a post-it note, I think. and then also some concept work that Christian Olsman had done in the States. And that was when I first saw this sphere droid, and suddenly R2 didn't seem so bad a gig after all, actually. Right. It seemed that this sphere droid was going to be a real challenge.
That was the fear moment that you had about how are you going to do this?
Yeah. I mean, Neil was very good. Neil Scanlon was very good. He didn't really tell me how important a character it was because nobody could read the script. So I think he kept that from me just to keep my nerves at bay. But I then just started to think about how we could possibly make a sphere work on set with a head on top, get it rolling around like the droid that would become BB8. So,
yeah. So we. I don't want to just say there was 7 versions we ended up building. For the film.
We did think about doing it for real. So first of all, we did think about how would you do a sphere going around, head up balancing on top. There's a number of ways of doing it. You can either have a little robot on top that balances, or a pendulum, or like a hamster in a cage. But actually for filming, you need something bulletproof, precise, gets it every time. So in fact, we came up with, I think, sort of 4 main versions, but 7 versions in the end.
4 that were operational and were performable, let's say.
Yeah. So one of the, should we talk about the puppets?
Yeah.
So, one of the first things I did, maybe Matt, I'll demonstrate something.
Yeah,
You have something here for us to see.
Yeah, this is the very first BB-8 that was ever built, and it's built by Josh. And
has anyone ever seen this before? Is this the first time you've shown this out in public?
Oh, yeah, this is some of my finest work. Don't get excited.
But it's such a great glimpse into the creative process and the technical process of how you prove something out, show it to a director. Anyway.
Well, so what it was is there was a lot of concepts about whether it needed more movement, whether the neck needed movement, but no one had ever made a BB-8. So I thought I'll spend half a day, and I stressed this only took half a day, so don't judge me on my skills. But it took half a day making this little thing, which we'll get out.
But it is an amazing proof of concept because originally it wasn't sure how BB-8 was going to move and whether it would be.
Look at that. And you could turn the head and,
one of the interesting things here is they weren't sure whether BB-8 was going to be omnidirectional, which means that he could go in any direction at any time. So he could be facing forward but roll left, for example. But as you can see, the puppet can't. It has an axle through the middle, and it can rock from side to side and move around. And so we quickly decided that BB-8 has sides. He has no front and back because he can spin his head all the way around and head in the other direction. But he's not omnidirectional, so he can't just roll sideways, or he has to do a turn to go in a different direction. And this was one of the moments when they realized that actually you can get a lot of character out of that, just having that roll in the axle.
So this was probably, I'm assuming, would be part of a huge conversation about the level of expression required in the script for BB-8. Because I think about R2D2, R2D2 is an incredible marvel, but BB-8 had to have so many moments where he's acting without sound. The voice was such a huge part of R2. What were those discussions like, those creative discussions in the early days?
Well, the first thing we did was we put this into the hands of a skilled puppeteer, not myself.
Right.
And so Brian Herring and Dave Chapman were brought in, and they sort of found some characterization and did some rehearsal. And then JJ was in on that, and Kathy as well. They still weren't really sure about whether it was going to be a practical robot on set. So we still had to prove ourselves, really. So,
but you're right, just having the head, I'm just skipping forward to we'll come back to that, but having the head on the ball and being able to move the head around independently gives you so much more character than what you can do with R2, because I've tried driving R2, and it's quite tricky trying to make him look happy and sad and all that. And with the head, you can just dip the head down or whatever, or make him perk up. It's a huge benefit. So this is some puppet images, and this is Giles, which was Josh's assistant.
Yeah, the secret weapon that is Giles Hannigan.
And without which nothing would have got built. No. But this was an early test. I think this was the driven ball, right, Josh?
Yeah.
So the idea was that to aid the puppeteer, we were actually going to have a ball that had a motor in it. to help him go across sand. It turned out it wasn't needed, but that was a very, very early test in the back of our workshop in Q stage in Pinewood.
So this is the finished puppet on set in Abu Dhabi. Oh, who's that attractive young lady on
Hello.
the...
So that's the lovely Creatures AD, Teresa, who happens to be sat in the front row.
Yeah.
Sorry for embarrassing you.
So with the help of our friends at ILM, you could take BB8 anywhere on any sand dunes over any terrain really, and Brian really gave that some real subtleties of performance, and also he was able to interact with the actors. He would voice the beeps and boops, and was able to respond directly to the actors. That was a really good thing, actually. It was a great system.
Or R2, indeed. And I should just say, Teresa usually looks much happier than that.
Yeah. And there's Brian Herring giving it his best, I think.
And that's a really, so we could change the rig on the puppet. That's an offset rig. It's a really strange rig on that one, where the handles go up and then off to one side. So there's all sorts of ways we could rig the handles to try and get him out of shot. And as you see, not always wearing greens.
So there was no need to paint that out at all just because of the angle of the setup?
Well, it's still paint something out, but they would always try and get him as clean as possible, or not crossing too many people. And the reason why they use grey sometimes, and you'll notice that the grey stuff is next to BB8, is so that it doesn't reflect into the ball. So if you put green on there, you get a green reflection on the ball. So they go grey and then green usually. But,
very, very cool.
But one big problem with BB8 is that he rolls on his own body. And so we knew that was going to be, how do you make something? First of all, how do you make a sphere? Spheres are difficult. Then how do you make something that's going to last for a 4-month shoot, going over hot sand, over
in the
concrete,
desert.
in the desert. It was a real challenge. So we ended up using lots of really quite advanced materials that wouldn't fade in the Abu Dhabi sunlight, that would take the wear resistance. It was an incredibly exhaustive process. There's Serena, who's another hero of the BB8 build, and she would lay in all the colours so that as it wore out, as it would just go through to other layers of orange. So that, I mean, you may even just be able to spot, as the film goes on, the wear getting into BB8. But he needs a retread, so every film we give him a full retread. This whole process happens again, and that's to all 7 BB8s that we have. So there's quite a big team of people just keeping him running, keeping him rolling.
How much time did you have between your first day and the very beginning of pre-production? What was that period like? Can you describe for people?
Well, we had 2 months of R&D where we figured out what to make, and then we had 3 months, about 3 months, 3 or 4 months of actually making. So that's pretty short. I would have liked much longer.
And how many? Obviously, you had different versions, right? But how many of each were required? In terms of backups and things like that.
Well, we had 7 in total, and we had panels on standby to be swapped in. So we made it modular so that everything could be replaced, and also
came with a kit of parts then, basically.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Great. So that's casting the mold there.
Yeah, there's Kenny, and then Kenny Wilson was the head mold maker, and he's just pulling out a mold of a stunt BB8. So we thought, not only do we need these practical ones, but we need a stunt version. Actually, that was never used once. So we made that, but it was never used because I think BB8 does his own stunts. So
even when John Boyega is falling into the, that's one of the.
Yeah. So JJ, we'd say, can we use the stunt one? And JJ would be like, no, let's use the real one. So despite all our best efforts, he always used the real ones. So
which shot did you ask about? The John Boyega with the one?
John Boyega at one point has BB8 and he falls back.
No, so we had a special one for that. That was the Carrier.
Yeah.
We had a lightweight version called the Carrier.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Otherwise, it would have crushed him.
So they just cut in the big metal clank sound effect afterwards, right?
Sure.
To give it the Great. So what is the Wiggler? I see you have this slide here called the Wiggler.
So the head of visual effects, Roger Guyot, we told him pretty much what we were going to build. We wanted to build some remote control versions. We wanted some the puppet version, stunt. But he suggested that we had a version that could be shot all the way around. No ILM cleanup needed, but perhaps didn't roll away. And so we tried to give it another name, but you never choose your own nicknames. And because it wiggled on the spot, it got nicknamed the Wiggler. And so it was just a ball that was pivoted at the base with motors inside, and then the head on top, which would move around. And what we could do is we could sort of bury the base plate in sand or screw it to the deck of the Millennium Falcon, and then operate it remotely without any CGI.
And this is one of the more complicated builds that we did, probably the third most complicated, I'd say, out of the BB8s. And we added, as Giles again, we added things to this to make puppeteering easy, for example. So the head obviously moves forwards and backwards and left and right, so does the body, and the body spins, and the head spins. But one of the things we found whilst we were building this and using it was that it's quite hard to keep focus on something with the head. So I built in a feature that whichever way the head is pointing is forwards. So if you spin the head round to 70 degrees and push forwards on the stick, everything's that's renegotiated as the forward position. So wherever he looks, that's always his forwards, which makes puppeteering just much easier.
And how many shots do you think in the final did we see this in?
There's quite a few actually. There's quite a few shots.
There was a good spread actually. We were really quite pleasantly surprised because all the different versions had an equal spread of shots throughout the movie. So no one particular one. They all found their own strengths. The puppet would be for either rough terrain or where you needed a really good performance. The Trikes, maybe more background shots. The Wiggler when it was on the Millennium Falcon. So there was a good spread. We sort of vindicated our choices, really.
And you get a really good performance out the Wiggler, and also it was used in the back of the X-Wing. So whenever there's an X-Wing shot and BB-8's doing this in the back, that's the Wiggler.
Great. So it really vindicates your decision to make multiple versions for different problems rather than be in a laboratory trying to actually invent the BB-8.
Yeah, as tempting as it was. And also, the other good thing about having more than one is if one kind of maybe breaks down, you can just bring out another one and nobody notices that way. So although we had very good reliability, but it's always nice to have a backup.
So this, and this is actually the first Wiggler shot we did, I believe, and this was a well-known publicity photograph. I don't know if you can put it back up on the screen, but
yeah, if we can go back to the slide here, there it is.
There's a little Easter egg for you. If you look at the bottom of BB-8, there's a panel there that's very dark, very black in color, and that's because it's fallen off. So in the desert, we found out that the glue breaks down at certain temperatures.
55 degrees centigrade.
Yeah,
it
was about 45 when we turned up. 45 in the shade. So you can imagine once something's been sat in the sun, it gets pretty toasty.
And that was it was pretty much every day that way while you were there.
Sorry.
It was about that temperature every day while you were there.
At least 45 degrees. It hit 53, I think. It peaked at 53 in the shade.
And how many weeks?
We did 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
3 weeks. That's
best thing I've ever done. The best shoot I've ever been on.
Really?
Yeah, I loved it.
That's and that is the Wiggler there. So the base plate is hidden.
That
in
is the Wiggler. The base plate's hidden under the sand. For some reason, none of us noticed the panel missing, but fortunately, I think it must have been off camera. So we got away with it.
Well, now it's in order to be authentic, that panel has to be missing.
Yeah, exactly.
At least in some circles, right? Yeah.
So moves on to the Trike.
Yeah, so we knew we got the Wiggler, we got the puppet, the stunt ones, but we knew we needed a remote control version that needed to be accurate, powerful, all-wheel drive. It needed to go everywhere, do everything. So we there was a couple of ideas about how we might do it, and with Neil Scanlon sort of threshed out those ideas and came up with a sort of concept model of which that's my little concept model, so I could show everybody how it was going to look. But it needed this really novel, difficult steering and drive system. So that's when, whenever it gets difficult, I ring Matt, and then he comes in and saves my bacon, really. So
that's not entirely true. Come on. No, so I did get a call from Josh at this point, and he said he'd invented this crazy steering 3-wheel drive robot, and is it possible to make it work? Because it's a 3-wheel drive system, all the wheels go at different speeds as you're turning. I'm not going to bore you too much with it, but the first thing we did actually was we built one in a physics simulator so that we could actually drive it around a virtual environment and see how it behaved. So this is a little video of those early tests. So I'm puppeteering this from some joysticks. So there's the body roll that the puppet had, and there's the back wheels just turning for steering.
And we'd show this to Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams, and just kind of say, this is what we're going to build.
Yeah.
And bless them, they believed us and trusted us.
And the blue bit's where ILM take over, obviously, and remove that. That's a Millennium Falcon ramp. That's 15 degrees. That was one of our challenges. So.
And so just to make sure that I'm totally clear on this, while you're doing this, this is in a physics software program, but you're actually steering with analog sticks right now in real time to show the physics.
Correct.
And then just doing a capture. Is that right?
Yeah, I nearly went off the ramp. So you could see when it got to the top of the ramp, it kind of bounced a little bit, so it would fall over and tumble like in a real-world environment.
So you were able to determine weight ahead of time. You were able to determine exactly how much power you needed.
Exactly. It was really useful because we could determine exactly how much torque we needed and all the motors, and get it just right as such.
Amazing. And so this solves yet another problem that you have in terms of movement, and then ILM paints out the wheels. Wow.
In fact,
it's very clever.
The simulations worked really well because we even did one for the 3-wheel drive R2, and in fact, that guy over there, they were all built in a simulation first before we built them for real.
Fantastic, fantastic.
This is us
looking quite tired.
Looking tired. This is about a week before we go to Abu Dhabi, and as you can see, there's bits and pieces on the floor. There's a trike there. There's start of a puppet, I think. And
I think at this point, JJ still hadn't seen a working BB8, and because it's right up to the wire. The build was so tight. So with about a week to go, we finally got one together, sort of a trike and a puppet together, and they came in with the producers, and they came in without the making of crew, just in case. And then they saw it, and they saw it worked, and they saw that it was going to be okay. So they were relieved.
Huge moment of relief for the entire team, I'm sure. Yeah.
So this is a video that we shot to test it because we didn't know how it was going to behave on the train. So we shipped in some very fine sand in a shipping container and drove it about basically to see what it was capable of. And we were pretty pleased with the results. And then we end up on the back lot in a minute, I think, and there's a nice little, you'll see a clip of something recognizable. Oh, there we go. What's that?
Hey.
Hello.
Little Star Wars set there. So how much were you, I mean, it's clearly you were anticipating needing to drive over sand. How much of that anticipation paid off versus lessons that you had to learn during those sand tests? How much revision was required once you did your sand test?
It was pretty good, actually. I mean, the trikes didn't quite manage it on sand dunes, really deep. They'd kind of bottom out, but everything else. And when we had ways around that as well, we would bury carpet under the sand, things like that. So they did really well, actually.
Yeah, this is just obviously the trike in our workshop. We were still testing it at this point. Hey, there you go. This is so the other guy that did lots and lots of design work on this is Jake Lunt, and that's Jake's dog.
I think he's doing a panel here, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he might be.
So, not the dog, Jake.
So there was 2 trikes in that. There's one behind, and that's them getting ready to ship to Abu Dhabi. So we had like 7 crates, each with a BB8 in it.
Amazing. So you were just getting ready for shoot. This must have been right down to the wire. And then the first on the production schedule, Abu Dhabi was first, correct? So probably the most difficult shoot was first. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were it was getting hotter and hotter in Abu Dhabi. So the only option was to go there first. If we delayed it any longer, it would just get worse and worse. So we turned up on set in almost unbearable heat. There was sand and salt being blown into your mechanisms. It was like the worst first day, but also the best first day you could imagine. It was very exciting.
And that is from the first day. And I have to say, this is the only time we got umbrellas.
Yeah.
We're like, everyone rushed around with umbrellas on the first day. I'm looking at the ADs down at the front.
Didn't last.
And then, no, totally. It's like everyone left us after that.
They're fine. They're fine. Yeah.
So, we were prepping the 2 Trikes here. That's Dave Chapman in the middle at the back. There's the other puppeteer. So Dave always looks after the head. Whichever BB8 we're using, whether it's the puppet or the Trike or the Wiggler. No, not the Wiggler, sorry. But Dave is always on head and eye lines and what have you. So he's always looking after that bit. And I'm driving the Trike in this shot, this first shot. And there it is, lining up with Daisy.
And this is all the same setup, right?
Yeah.
And this is not just your first shot. This is not just BB-8's first shot. This is the first setup of the entire production. Is that right?
I believe so.
Yeah. No pressure.
And
no pressure. So day one, this thing better work.
I can guarantee you I was more nervous than Daisy. I think we all were.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you can see in this one, we can actually see the carpet we've put down underneath and then put sand over the top because it was just too deep from there to get any traction. And also, one of the tricks we can do with the Trike is flip it. So we put the wheels around the back, point the head this way, and you see the cameras are all behind him. So you can flip the direction he travels in. So you always try and get the most clean side of him. And we also have a left Trike and a right Trike. So we have one that's good for camera left, has the arm on the right, and one that's good for camera right, that has the arm on the left. So that there is the left Trike.
Yeah. There's me trying to figure out why things are overheating or bearings are seizing up. We were constantly rinsing out the bearings. So we had a number of heads though, so we could swap heads in, and the heads did slightly different things like eye sensors and projector moves, so we could always swap one head to the other.
And we were still kind of finishing them off as we got there. We had a couple still to make, and that's the head in the background is we had 2 heads for the puppet.
Mm-hmm.
One which had it was electrically actuated, another one that was fixed, so that if we were doing a really fast shot and it was harsh terrain, we'd use the fixed head. There's a nice shot of probably the Wiggler, maybe, in Daisy.
Yeah, I think it was up there. Yeah.
Incredible. Really nice.
There's our boss. Neil Scanlon is the guy in the white on the right-hand side, behind JJ, and the Wiggler behind him.
And again, the base is hidden by the netting there.
That's
Is
correct.
that right? Yeah. Really clever.
Oh, hello. So that's back at Pinewood Studios. That's the only one we've got back at Pinewood Studios. Again, trying to fix a head. Actually, no, I'm attaching a head here. There's a real tricky little thing. There's a cable you have to pull down and attach to the lower mech, which is always a little bit tricky. So.
Red carpet.
Okay.
So yeah, let's talk about this. So obviously, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well,
We have something else first, actually.
Oh, you do. Oh,
for
that's
you.
right. Wait, you have a surprise?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, let's make sure. Let's get on to the camera here, to IMAG. There we go. What do we have here? These suspicious crates. I don't know what's back here. I've been wondering this entire time, even though I can kind of see. Oh, here. Oh, my goodness gracious me. I'm a little starstruck. Here he comes. Yes.
So,
look at that.
So this is a Trike. So no one's seen a Trike live before, because we use these obviously for filming only, and this is the first time anyone's got to see one. And this is the left Trike, as I was trying to explain earlier. So the arm's on the left-hand side.
Right. This one here. Right.
And right now I'm driving the body, and Josh is controlling the head.
not very well. Dave normally does this.
Is it normally 2 people that operate BB8 at all times? Okay.
Pretty much,
Most
yeah.
of the time, yeah.
Okay.
The only one that's a one-person job is the Wiggler, and one we'll get onto later. But yeah, it's usually a 2-man job.
Wow, just incredibly expressive again, you know, in terms of all of the range of movement. And And just the bobbling of the head just suggests this kind of mischievous personality. Did you find that, you know, when going back and forth and being directed, I mean, you had to be directed by JJ, you know, during these shots. Were there, you know, any sort of personality traits that he would often try and bring out, or certain moves he would always want to repeat on camera?
Well, when they did the original show and tell to JJ, I mean, Brian had already worked out a few things by then with the puppet. So a lot of the characterization came from what the puppet could do, and then we tend to follow it with the remote. So
that's awesome. Yeah, another round of applause for this. This is just an incredible feat of engineering and personality. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Oh, and he goes back into his crate. Nap time. Very, very cool. Thank you for sharing that. That's that was. I was a little startled. He was like 5 years old for a second up here. That was great. Yeah.
So I mean, we got through the shoot really well with all those versions, but we were still thinking about how would you do it without that trolley on the back or without Brian holding the puppeteering sticks. Could it be done? It was the right decision to make them how we did for the filming. We got every shot. Everyone was delighted. But even so, I really wanted to figure out how you could do it, whether it was possible. And then we were, due to some slightly unfortunate circumstances with Harrison Ford and his injury to his ankle,
right.
we were all given a month off. And unfortunately, I can't, you know, stop thinking about it. And my wife was frustrated because I couldn't. We went on holiday and I was still sketching ideas about how it could be done and everything. So sorry about that. But over that month, I sort of pretty much figured it was possible. And then in weekends and evenings, we started building a sort of a rough prototype of how it could be done for real.
yeah, with the idea of the nickname Red Carpet was just because we were thinking that, you know, if we have to turn up at a premiere, let's hope so, fingers crossed, they want a BB-8 there, and if we could supply a BB-8 which was fully self-contained and we could roll down the red carpet with the other, you know, actors and what have you, it would be great.
And we wanted to go to Los Angeles.
And there was a little bit of that as well. So the one thing we've never been able to talk about is how we built the red carpet BB-8, because we've kind of been keeping it under wraps.
Right.
And I'd love to be able to talk about it today, but
yeah, it was like a magic trick. So we're not going to
talk about it. I'm just going to show you a video.
If you guys want to see how BB-8 functions on the inside and really see how this thing works?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like that.
Oh, come on, you want to see how this thing works or what? Come on, let's check it out.
This is our crown jewels.
This is the trade secrets. Okay.
Here's the trade secret right here inside BB-8. The red carpet version. This is the fully functional standalone.
So you can see the end panels there where he attaches to the sphere. And what he's doing right now is rotating on his yaw base, which is how he spins on the spot. And that's his head pitch, roll, and yaw, so that's how he moves his head around.
That's so cool.
And there's the body roll, same as what the puppet could do. And that would be him driving forwards and backwards.
I mean, there's a few ways of doing this. You can have a pendulum robot, which is what we chose, or you can have a sort of hamster in a cage, which is kind of more like how the Sphero toy works.
Sorry, I'm going to cut you short because the clip's coming up in a minute. What happened then is we sent this to JJ and Kathleen Kennedy to say, do you want us to take this further? So there you go. That is the very first fully rolling BB-8.
Wow.
In all its half-finished glory.
So we got it to this stage in our spare time, and then showed our boss Neil, and he got this video to Lucasfilm and Disney, and then they gave us some money to get the sphere looking like BB-8, improve the head, because obviously the head's very good there.
the head has taken a few tumbles, as you can see in that image.
Damaged in testing, yeah. May have fallen off once or twice.
Now that was incredible. Give him a
There you
round of
go.
applause. That really is.
So nobody recorded that, right? Because, oh God, oh no, that's not good.
So, I mean, that really is filmmaking magic right there. I mean, it comes to life. And how many months or how many weeks was it before you built that and it was put into service?
Well, again, like everything, we were building it right up until, especially the head, how the head stays on. We were tweaking and refining, and I was getting all the 3D printing companies to work on Sundays. It was quite stressful. That was right up to the wire for getting it into a crate and off with us to Anaheim.
Well, yeah, so we sort of shot ourselves in the foot because we said, yeah, we can do this, and do you want us to take it further? And they went, yeah, great, and you're going to do it live in front of 15,000, I don't know how many people, and live streamed, and suddenly we were like, oh, we actually have to do this.
That was Celebration last year, wasn't
Star Wars Celebration
Yeah.
in April. So this is the picture of BB8 rolling out on stage at Celebration, and the crowd, the noise was unbelievable because everyone thought it was going to be a CG,
Right.
entirely CG element.
There was cheering, but there was also incredible gasping, at least there in the theater that I was in. But, you just couldn't believe that it was real.
Some friends at work have.
Oh, look, there you guys are.
There's
What was
JJ. JJ hoping the head doesn't fall off.
Yeah, we were praying the head didn't fall off. I remember that. So we were just off to the right at that point, and it was one of those moments where the heart's pounding, and drove it out on stage, and I heard the roar, but all I could hear was whoa, 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 whoa. After that point, everything just went into like slow motion, until it drove off, and I was like, whew. But then we had to come back on again. It was a second appearance. It was like, oh, it's never over.
And after so much hard work from all four of you on the film, this must have been a tremendously gratifying and exciting moment. What was it like being on stage during those moments for you guys?
that was a memorable day. That was my first appearance on stage in front of people like this, and it was quite nerve-wracking at the time, but we did enjoy it. It's a memorable day. And equally, like Matt was nervous, I was nervous for Matt as well, because I'd been through the nerves of operating R2 on set, and the reliability, which thankfully was fine. But then knowing Matt was enduring that problem at that moment, that sort of took it away from me, and I felt nervous for Matt.
It's very different because if on a film set you can do a second take, but there's no second take.
Live is terrifying. But the lovely thing about this, the red carpet BB8, as we've come to know it fondly, is that it ultimately we did end up going to a premiere, which was stunning, and we had quite an incredible journey, myself and Josh, and
I remember that moment very well because he was absolutely on his own.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you were there controlling him, but I mean, he just rolled. Everyone just like gave way and gave the entire red carpet to BB8. Just flying solo there. And what a star! Look at that, working the line there.
It's just what a
BB8
poser.
on the
Look
red
at
carpet.
Camera dancer.
Yeah.
Camera loves BB8.
Yeah. It's more not a step and repeat, more of a roll and repeat, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Very cool.
And that was the UK premiere. So we literally flew back from LA the next day into the UK premiere, and then I think a week later or 2 weeks later, we flew to China and did the Chinese premiere. Yeah. And we did all sorts of other events, and in fact, we then had a second team set up, which Lee was driving for us as well. So two of us went off all over the world, and it was just a wonderful journey.
I was fortunate enough to do the Oscars. Sorry to crash in.
Right, rub it in. I was doing a film, another film.
You were busier working than I was at the time. Yeah.
You were driving. You were driving at the Oscars.
Yeah, I drove BB8 at the Oscars.
Oh, wow.
So I was the second team.
That's why I didn't look that good. I don't know if you noticed.
Oh, no.
Oh,
I can take
You shouldn't have brought that out.
Flawless. Flawless, all of you. Yeah.
I'd let that go. I'd even forgotten about it.
I brought it all back again, sorry.
Fantastic. Yeah, millions of people watching. I mean, that was really, really what an incredible accomplishment and the culmination of so much hard work. That's really great. And, he's wonderful in live appearances, BB8. Yeah, I hope we get to see him again sometime. That would be really cool.
Well, the carpet's the wrong color.
Oh, it isn't a red carpet, is it? It's kind of a darker shade of. It's a black carpet. Well, you know,
Yeah.
it's still a carpet. If you happen to see BB8, and he could come out and say
Sort
hello.
of, I don't know. Maybe.
Do you guys want to see the red carpet BB8? He's so cute, you guys. Hold on, I'm going to get out of the way this time. Hold on. Oh, here he comes. BB8 in all of his glory. Look at that. Oh, and he talks too. Oh, hello. Hey there, BB8. Oh, it's under here. Oh, right here. Are you enjoying your time at Star Wars Celebration? You want to eat this microphone? So, anything you want to see while you're here? You want to meet some more droids? Signing any autographs? You up for it? What do you say? Oh, he's a little shy. This is incredible. Do you ever worry about like coming onto the edge of the, oh, sorry, yes, oh dear. You want me to go in the crate? You're going to take over hosting? Oh, he's like, sit down. Yes, sir. BB8, ladies and gentlemen, give him another round of applause. Absolutely amazing. We have some time for some questions, so we wanted to do some Q&A here. If you have any questions for our droid builders, all four of them up here have a tremendous amount of experience, certainly some amazing stories to tell. So we have a microphone in this aisle here and another one in this aisle. If anyone has any questions for our droid builders. If you have questions, go ahead and walk up to the mic there. There you go.
Just to clarify, I was actually controlling Josh then, just in case everyone was wondering.
How fast does BB8 go?
That was a good question. Okay, so the red carpet BB8, we've clocked at 7 kilometers an hour.
Wow.
And the Trike will get up to 11 kilometers an hour. So
wow.
There you go.
Yes.
Hi, guys. I just wanted to know for assuming BB-8 in Episode 8, did you change anything since the Episode 7 droids that we've seen for Episode 8?
Assuming that he was in Episode 8, we probably would change things. If we got to build him again, we'd probably change a few things, right? Like engineering-wise?
I think he might be in for a few upgrades.
What's Episode 8 again? Is that
I don't know.
Is that a thing? Not sure.
Oh yeah, don't ask us questions about anything other than Episode 7.
Maybe.
So everyone just sat back down.
Right here, right here.
The thumbs up lighter, was that a practical effect or something you had to do in CGI?
No, there was going to be a different gag, actually, and JJ had the idea about a day or 2 days before filming of that scene, and so there was just no time, so that was CGI.
We had some practical work in panel stuff, but so that one we had no time to build it. So.
But I mean, I loved that. I thought that was fantastic. So the timing was just spot on. So well done, ILM.
Is it possible to just fill him the same way that R2 is, just with different gadgets, considering all of the range of motion?
Yeah, you can. With some of them, you can. All those panels come off. So
in the film world, you can.
Yeah, these are the panels, and you can remove those. And then put a practical panel in. So he's got a kind of modular system going on.
Oh, cool. So. Yes, right here, please.
When it comes to your personal careers, what would you say the first kind of droids that you made were for the Episode 7? What were like the first kind of droids you ever made yourself?
What the first things we ever built ourselves?
What were the first droids you ever made yourself? For all four of you?
Well, we don't just do droids, we do creatures as well. So it was probably a creature. I worked on The Fifth Element. So we made some Mangalores and things for the Fifth Element. They're sort of...
We've both done Harry Potter films, so because creature effects covers a broad spectrum, and usually we do build animatronic creatures. And in fact, I did quite a few of a lot of the electronics for the creatures in Episode 7 and Rogue One. So it's unusual for us to be building droids actually, because usually what we do is covered in a latex skin or a silicon skin. But.
Yeah, mine was R2D2. It's the first thing I built. Built it at home. My wife thought I was mad for doing that for 2 years. Thankfully, I've proved her wrong.
Barely.
Obviously, I'm the same as Lee. It's like R2 is sort of what I built in the past and sort of what I built in Force Awakens. But you don't realise like how talented these guys are and when sort of first days. And it's like you ask, as curious fanboys that I am, it's like, what films have you worked on? And everyone is so coy, they don't want to say, oh, I worked on all these big blockbusters, and you have to sort of like push them and to get stuff out.
Paying the money for that later on.
When you look at the stuff that Matt's done, so if you've seen like a gadget show, there's a walking hexapod, that's Matt's. And he worked on, is it Lost in Space together with, I can't forget his name.
Can't remember his name either.
Can't remember his name.
So I would say this,
so
I do build walking machines, and that was because of being inspired by AT-ATs and Scout Walkers. I was obsessed with seeing walking machines work, and one of the first robots I built was a walking machine, but that was nothing to do with the film, just for pure fun. So.
Very cool. And right here.
Well, hi. Well, first up, guys, really well done. That's an awesome piece of engineering, which brings me to my point. We're having a real struggle to get youngsters interested in engineering and design. So this is precisely the sort of thing I can imagine a ton of kids would be interested in. If you would care to sort of do a how-to or publish the specs for how you actually made him work, is that something you consider?
So we're struggling to hear the question a little bit, but I think, so you're struggling to get more design students, engineering students, is that?
Yeah, I'm just saying that there's, it's been for a long time now an issue to get young people interested in engineering and design.
Yeah.
This is a brilliant way into it.
Absolutely. And we are.
And would you be interested in doing panels or
Oh, totally. Yeah, I'm all over that. Very, very keen to push the whole engineering to kids and the whole STEM thing, isn't it? Science, technology, engineering, and maths. Yeah, totally. I think it's a great thing because one of the things I was never told when I didn't do great at school. I did an engineering apprenticeship in electronics and software, and I was better at practical stuff. But it's because I wasn't given application. If people had given me an application of what I could apply, what I was learning, I would have learnt much faster. It wasn't until I'd left school and started working in the film industry that my learning went kind of exponentially up. But.
Yeah, and it's a great project to do because a lot of the technology that you need is you can get now from like the gyroscope sensors you need, the
Arduino and coding and all that stuff.
The motors and everything. And it's a good size, so it is a really good project, and it demonstrates a lot of physical forces. There's, maybe there's magnetism, there's gyroscopic forces. So it's a great project, and it's a good size. Just encourage anyone to have a go.
You might want to start with a R2 if you're just starting, though, and then work up to a BB8.
Yeah.
Well, good luck if you do have a go.
Well, and I just had a question for you, and any droid builder out there, you wanted to make your own droid at home. And that requires a level of passion that is exactly what you're talking about, a level of passion, a level of commitment, and a level of just knowledge and just plain intelligence in order to do it. What started you down that road to do droid building in the first place for anyone that has a curiosity in electronics and engineering?
So I'm really lucky. I actually did electromechanical engineering at university, and I sympathise with the sort of last question because the university I used to go to, there's no funding now in engineering. There's far more money in management courses, so they closed down their engineering departments, which is a real shame. So after my engineering degree, I did sort of Robot Wars on TV in the UK. And then after that, I needed something to do. And as you are, sort of when you're bored and you've got the internet, you just have a look. And I just came across the R2 Builders group back in sort of early 2000s, just at its very infancy. And I got on a few of the first parts runs, and from there, I built my very first R2 for Celebration in London in 2007. And from there, I've built more droids, got more people involved. Astromech.info, and come and see our booth just there. Plug.
But, yeah, I mean, I think what's happened to you guys is a really good example of. So this was your hobby, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, indeed.
And but what happened is you're so passionate about your hobby, and now you both worked on the film. You sort of pursued your hobbies to a point where you were noticed, and then working on the film, and now Lee, you're continuing to work on them.
I am. Yeah.
And going around the world, living the dream.
It's not a bad life. It's not a bad life. And you know, they say about the STEM thing that Matt and Josh, encourage. But I'd also say, whatever you do, try and just do it at your best ability, because you never know what's around the corner. There's no way I thought I'd be working on Star Wars. I did the R2 build just for fun. I built enough cars, boats and planes. I did the R2 for fun. I was going to build a Dalek, but that didn't fit in the car. So thank God it was an R2. Could be working
Things
on
could have been
something
so
else.
different.
Yeah. So, just do what you do at your best. You never know what could happen.
Right here.
So I know you said don't talk about future episodes, but is there any chance of seeing R2 or BB8 in the new Robot Wars?
Yeah, I don't think it'd last very long.
Really? Okay, thanks.
It would be a short episode, yeah.
And last question right here.
How do the various toys differ from the actual robots, and would you use them to further develop BB-8 in future, or is it the other way around? Did they use the originals to develop the toys?
Well, now they've seen how we do it, it's probably going to be the other way around. Do you know what I'm saying? No, I think the toys, so let's think about the Sphero toy, which everyone knows about. The way that they do that is effectively like a radio-controlled car inside of a ball, or a hamster inside of a ball. So whatever's inside rolls around and it goes in any direction. So, but you can't control the head independent of where the ball goes. So with our one, we have to have separate control for the head. So it's a much more difficult control problem and a much more difficult build. So toys are just generally different, but who knows, some stuff might come towards us from their toys and some stuff might go back in the other direction.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, when the toys started coming out, it was really great because we'd been keeping BB-8 secret for years, a year and a half. And then suddenly we start seeing the toys and, you can hold one in your hand, and I still use them as reference for the real BB-8 to figure out where all the panels go. So it's great to, after keeping it so secret, to see it everywhere and just be able to enjoy it. And I really like all the different toys and how they all work and how they're all slightly different from each other.
We've been using the toys for reference, which is why they're all wrong now, right?
Yeah, they might be. Yeah.
Well, I'm just so excited to not only just celebrate the work that you all did on The Force Awakens, but hopefully see more work in the future. It's just been an incredibly inspiring hour. Please join me in giving a round of applause to Lee, Oliver, Matt, and Josh, the droid builders of Star Wars The Force Awakens. Thank you so much, you guys. Really great job. Thank you. Give a round of applause.